Listen, to be successful, it takes so many hours and so much effort that if you don't love what it is that you're doing, you're not going to be successful, man. You know, I started off on Craigslist at $10 an hour, and I slowly scaled up higher and higher and higher until my demand was at full capacity. The best teacher oftentimes is getting out and just talking to people, knocking on doors, you know, reading through analytical reports of numbers, you know, what's going on within the market. Why do things move the way that they move? There's no better feedback than real-time feedback, and your consumer is going to give you that. What's the common denominator behind all of the successful people that I've been exposed to? What is it that they all embody and exude that has created the level of success that they've attained? And it seems to be...
Grant, thank you very much for being on the show today. I'm very happy we were able to set this up. I think after half a year trying to set this up. So
a long time.
Very happy to be here, and thank you for having me. It's truly an honor. And I want to start off by bringing up something that you said in one of your videos.
Tell me.
Which I found really interesting, and I'm going to like repeat it, and I want you to tell me and kind of like elaborate on what it is that you said. So you said there is no goal with money. If you love what it is that you do and you're truly passionate about it, money follows. It all comes back around.
Cheese! Mic drop. Dude, yeah, so that's just it, right? When you follow your passion, everything else great in life follows that. So the goal is to just follow what it is that you love.
I see.
Listen, to be successful, it takes so many hours and so much effort that if you don't love what it is that you're doing, you're not going to be successful, man. Because listen, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So I know what it takes to cross that threshold into success. And I've done it. I've done it twice over now.
Wow.
So follow your passion, man. That's what it's all about.
How do you find your passion?
Oof. Brother, that's a different question. You know, I found my passion through helping others. And within real estate, within athletic training, physical therapy, that's what I do. I help others. I just facilitate different things now within the real estate space. But ultimately, it comes back to that, helping.
I feel like when you have that mindset of how can I help others, how can I bring value to others, and how can I change their lives, that changes absolutely everything. And it all goes back to what it is that you said before, of not doing it for the money, but actually doing it to help someone. And at the end of the day, that's just going to give you fulfillment, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Grant, I want to bring it back a couple years.
Keep going.
What was your childhood like? Oof. Where did you grow up, and like, what did you see your parents doing? What was your childhood like overall?
Sure. So born in Tampa, Florida, but we moved here when I was, let's say, 5 years old. So pretty much raised in Miami-Dade County, down south, kind of the Kendall area, Pinecrest, Cutler Bay area. I went to high school. I went to elementary school, middle school down south in Kendall.
Miami boy,
born and raised, baby. Well, not born, but definitely raised in the 305 for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man.
So growing up, like, was like health your passion? Was real estate your passion? Like, what did you see your parents doing when you were growing up?
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up playing sports. So when you play sports, injury is always part of the equation per se. So with physical therapy, through injury, through things of that nature, I came to find my passion. So ironically, bringing it back even further, I found my passion through my passion. So that, I think, says a lot about how I view things in terms of relativity. It's simple. I think we as humans inherently make it more difficult than it needs to be. But if you keep it simple, everything aligns just the way it should.
What was that moment where you had that realization where you were like, you know what, I'm going to get into like physical therapy. I want to help people with their injuries or whatever it is that it was. Like, what was that moment? What was that realization? When did you have that epiphany?
I mean, that was young, right? Playing sports, physical therapy, athletic training was always a part of playing sports. So when I got to college, I just simply merged what it is that I was studying with what it is that I enjoy doing, which is rehabilitation, working out, things of that nature. And I found this deep, deep passion for helping others through that modality. And that's how things just took off for me. You know, I started off on Craigslist at $10 an hour, and I slowly scaled up higher and higher and higher until my demand was at full capacity. And
Great problem to have.
listen, I mean, that's what we pray for, right? we like I was telling you earlier, we pray for a full plate. So the fact that that plate was full, I'm so thankful for it, because that's what ultimately led me to real estate as well. And that's just helping others in a different capacity.
That's so interesting. You started at Craigslist
Sure.
for $10 an hour.
Yeah,
so like
absolutely.
people were going on Craigslist, finding you. They were
Sure.
reaching out to you.
Of course.
I find that crazy, by the way.
Bro, I
find that crazy.
Cheesecake Factory. If we keep it OG 100.
Cheesecake Factory.
Cheese-
So like in the back of Cheesecake Factory.
Shout out Cheesecake Factory. Shout out Cheesecake
Giving the
Factory.
physical therapy in the
Of
back.
course. No, man. You know, I didn't want to wait tables anymore while I was in college. And it's an incredible job, and I think everybody should have to do that job because it teaches you micro skills such as management. It teaches you people skills, how to deal with a vast array.
All types of people.
All types of people. And listen, when you don't have that ketchup on the table and that cheeseburger hits, it is a different type of
Yeah,
fury.
right?
But anyways, just wanting to expand my horizon and incorporate what it is that I was studying at the time with my passion. And henceforth, the Craigslist ad that ended up picking up traction and then going forward from there.
So it wasn't just a post. It was an ad.
Of course, brother.
Wow.
Of course. Manufacturing of the whole flyer and whatnot. Old
That's
school.
unbelievable. What year was that?
God, that must have been, let's say 15 years back. So
15 years.
2010.
So 2010.
Yeah, 2010, dude.
That's so interesting. Like I'm not in the marketing world at all.
Sure.
I'm in the finance world.
Sure.
But marketing is a topic that I find so interesting. And I feel like if I wasn't in the finance world, maybe I would have gone into marketing.
I could see it.
Simply because just the psychology behind what makes someone, I guess, curious.
Yeah.
And what makes them like click on that button. For example, in that ad,
Absolutely.
it was kind of like a direct response type of ad.
Sure.
It's not just like a freaking, what is it called? Like a billboard
Yeah.
that you see and like it doesn't have like a call to action. Right. How did you go about that? Like, who gave you the idea? Hey, you should go on Craigslist, run an ad. Like,
so great question, right? Because how I got into real estate was very comparable as to how that took off as well. And that's out of sheer demand. You know, I fulfilled the necessity for a client who was looking for a home but couldn't get a hold of his realtor. And, you know, I'm sitting there administering physical therapy on the guy's hip, and he's looking to buy a $5 million home. And, you know, I work with people within very intimate settings of their home. So I meet their family, I meet their mother, I meet their kids, and we have a beautiful, beautiful relationship before anything else. He's telling me this story about trying to get his realtor on the phone. And I'm just like, man, $5 million and you can't get someone on the phone to help you who is in the business to help you? I can do that. Absolutely, I can do that in spades. And that was the whole catalyst behind everything.
so you saw that there was a demand. You saw
Correct.
that there was a gap that
Correct.
there was like to be filled.
Sure.
So you decided to enter that real estate market.
Absolutely.
Now I'm very curious.
Tell me.
From going from a $10 ad
Sure.
to a $5 million
Sure.
home, like there's a big space there.
There's a huge space.
So like, how long was that? Like, how long did you go like from the start of your physical therapy journey to like the start of your real estate? And like, take me back to the beginning of you doing like a $10
Sure.
Craigslist ad, and then like you go into people's homes, people that you didn't know they were coming to you. Like, how did that go about?
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's about relationships, right?
Yeah.
And people want to do business with people that they trust, people that they know are proficient within the space that they're dealing within. So that means educating yourself. And, you know, I've been to college. I've educated myself clearly. So taking on real estate wasn't anything new to me because it's what I've been doing my whole life leading up into that moment. So the transition for me was relatively simple. Yes, of course, there's a learning curve where you need to study for the test before you take it, granted. But the best teacher oftentimes is getting out and just talking to people, knocking on doors, you know, reading through analytical reports of numbers, you know, what's going on within the market. Why do things move the way that they move? Whether that's me going to meet with my brokers in Fort Lauderdale or meeting with my broker down here in Miami Beach. It's all about putting yourself out there in order to achieve what it is that you're looking to achieve. So when you think of it, think of yourself as where you're going versus where you're at, and then trying to piece those two pieces together. And those two pieces are the action. That's the hard part, because it's easy to dream, but actually putting forth that effort, That's a whole different thing. Sorry, brother.
No worries. No, that's fine.
That's what happens when you sell.
That's what happens in your business,
That's a gift
right?
of the curse, right?
That's a great problem to have the phone ringing.
That's a great problem to have. I prayed for this problem, and my dreams were answered. No, I'm just kidding. It's all God. God
all
did,
God, right?
for
That's
sure.
amazing.
It's all God, man. Absolutely.
Grant, everything that you said was so fascinating. I guess the way that you made me, and I'm pretty sure the viewers were also able to see this, how you made them visualize like where they want to be,
Sure.
where they are now.
Absolutely.
And the only thing that's stopping them from getting there
Right.
is those actions that they
Yeah.
need to take. And like you
Absolutely.
said, like knocking on that door, not being
Sure.
afraid to go out into the field.
Totally.
Of course, there's some like knowledge that you need to have so that you can serve your clients in the best possible way.
Sure.
But you also can't be just filled with knowledge. You have to have the courage
Yeah.
to go out there and speak to people and sell and I guess get business done, right? And
Absolutely.
and I mean, there's a lot of people have this bad correlation like to the word sales.
Sure.
And I mean, that's one of the things that really interested, I guess, something that really caught my attention when I went on your profile and I saw like relationships over transactions. And I guess that's one of the things
Sure.
that made us have this conversation, be sitting here at the same exact moment. So, I mean, that's wonderful. Like everything that you said.
I appreciate
so
it.
you were doing physical therapy
Sure.
for years and years. In the beginning,
Right.
you were going to people's homes, like
Yeah.
people that didn't even know you, people that you
Right.
didn't know.
Of course.
Like talk about like,
Putting yourself out there, brother.
yeah, talk about putting yourself out
Yeah,
there. It's not like
100%.
a comfortable situation to be in.
But isn't that everything that we're talking about, though? Isn't that just the difference between where it is that you want to be versus where it is that you are?
Absolutely.
It's the action. It's putting yourself out there in order to achieve that goal.
For sure.
But without the action, there is no action.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
man.
So, okay, let's I want you to take me back to that moment.
Let's go.
To be honest, I don't even know how Craigslist works. I've never been on it.
Bro,
I don't know how
so
to post an ad
old
on Craigslist.
Sure.
You put that ad on Craigslist.
Yeah, man.
You started, like, how did that go about? Like, did you start receiving calls? Did
Right.
people text you? Like, how did that go about?
Exactly. You start marketing your services, just like anything else, right? We're all looking for impressions. We're all looking for eyeballs. So once you get the eyeballs on you, you regulate the price point to see where the demand is within the market. You know, very comparable to what's going on with real estate. There's a bit of a recalibration between sales price and list price. So that all being said, there's no better feedback than real-time feedback, and your consumer is going to give you that. Because if you're overpriced, you're not going to get the contract. If you're underpriced, chances are you're probably going to get multiple bids. And that's where the due diligence and the analytics really play off. And, you know, if your provider is doing what they need to be the way that I do it, that's when you're going to get that fine equilibrium between list price and sales price, and magic will happen. I promise you that.
Wow. You mentioned something that was very interesting. You said the word eyeballs.
Sure.
Right? And at the end of the day, if people don't know who you are, if people haven't seen you, if
Right.
people don't see you out there like going out and selling houses,
Sure.
they're not gonna want to do. First of all, they're not gonna do business with you
How
because
do they
don't
know?
they don't know you exist.
Right.
Right? So you said something a couple of minutes ago, and that was that you were working on this guy,
Sure.
you were giving him physical therapy,
Sure.
and then he was telling you about how he's trying to buy a $5 million home,
Right.
and he couldn't get a hold of his realtor, right?
Madness.
So that's not like a Facebook ad. You
No.
weren't a Facebook ad in front of him. You weren't on Instagram. Like that was
I was in a real face.
exactly. Exactly. You were having a real conversation. So it's another type of marketing, another type of like putting yourself out there.
Relationship.
It's relationship.
Right.
It's relationship.
Right.
And I guess something that's very important. I read a book once, and you mentioned the word demand,
Sure.
right? And I guess you kind of brought the importance of how important demand really is. I was reading a book that there was a professor teaching a class. It was like a business class, and he asked his students that if he was selling hot dogs,
Right.
like what you think the key was. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah, of course.
And then a lot of people said, oh, maybe like the fries or the sauce or the bread.
Right.
And then the professor said, no, you have to be, the ideal thing would be like not the sauce or the
Right.
bread or the little fries, nothing.
Right.
The ideal thing is to be outside of a stadium that's filled with people
With
that are
people.
starving.
Of course.
Right?
The demand.
So you filled that demand.
That's right.
But it's very difficult to like have that moment, that epiphany where you realize, you know what, there's a demand here, especially considering that you've been doing physical therapy for years.
Sure.
So how did you have that ability to recognize the opportunity that there was and not only realize it, but actually go after it? Like, how was that moment? Like, what made you actually take the jump?
I think you bring up a great point, because at the end of the day, whether or not you're doing physical therapy, whether or not you're selling homes, whether or not you're a physician, there's not difference. There's not much difference, at least, from the perspective of consumer demand and fulfilling that demand from the other side. So, like I said, whether I sell session packages or whether I sell homes, the business or the numbers behind it are very, very similar. And these are obviously the finer points of all of these things that we're talking about that translate so well. And at the end of the day, like I say, I'm just helping people in a different way. I've established the trust. I've established the proficiency. Give me a shot and let me help you within this facet of your portfolio.
Wow. With that exact client that you were telling me about, wait, you have a mosquito right here on the ear.
Not anymore.
Look.
Not anymore. Chuck Norris.
It's flying by there.
No.
So I was gonna say,
I got it, by the way.
with that specific client that wanted to buy a $5 million home, like, did you help him, or like, was he just the one that gave you the realization that you should maybe get into real estate?
Yeah.
Like, did you sell the house for him, or like?
I wish I did, but he was the catalyst behind the idea that sparked it all. He was the one where I know I can help this person in a way that they're not being helped through their provider. And I've shown this over the course of the last months through his rehabilitation. I know I can show it in a different way. And at the end of the day, I want the best for my clients. And that's why I put myself out there, because I see that they're not getting it. And I can give that to them. And that's what they gravitate towards. Who can do the best for them within that space? Who's the best for the job? The cream always rises to the top. So just focus on being the cream. Don't focus on, shiny ball syndrome where you're looking 1,000 different ways. Focus on one thing and allow that to manifest and become your reality.
I love that topic, by the way, like the one thing and focusing on that one thing. And it's so important. And I actually think, there is a book called The One Thing. I don't know if you've read it. It's a great book. I think you should read it.
Sure.
The One Thing. What would you say to someone that has that short-term mentality and they don't have the same mentality that you have of thinking about things like long-term, actually establishing a relationship with people where they actually see what you bring to the table, the type of person that you are, what a nice guy you are, like what a knowledgeable guy you are. Like, what would you tell to those people that want everything like now, everything quick? Like, they don't want to take the time to actually build a relationship. What would you tell them?
I think what's really important is to be gracious, to be patient. I think at the end of the day, we're all trying our best. So what would I tell them? Keep going. Keep trying. Because the only way you lose this game is when you stop trying.
You don't actually fail unless you quit.
That's it.
If you keep going and you keep trying, I mean, it's not when you, like, I'm pretty sure when you started your real estate career, it wasn't perfect since the beginning, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you run into a couple of walls.
Of course.
And maybe like you were running when you hit that wall.
Boom.
But you kept going.
Right.
And that's important. And now, I mean, we're going to get into that conversation in just a second. But now you're selling beautiful homes.
Sure.
Very big homes.
Multi-million-dollar homes, man.
Multi-million-dollar homes that a lot of people in their lifetime, like, not everyone gets to have that type of home, right?
Sure.
So you're clearly doing something well.
Right.
I wanted to ask you, growing up, you were playing sports.
Sure.
You noticed that physical therapy maybe was the route that you wanted to go.
Right.
did you ever foresee yourself going into real estate?
Brother, never in a million years. Never in a million years. And frankly, I never saw myself going into the space in which I went into with athletic training and physical therapy, which is all in-home private. You know, I had aspirations of doing outpatient physical therapy, you know, in a center where, you know, you're helping others rehabilitate from their injuries. But through my entrepreneurial spirits, one thing led to the next, and it led to a bigger thing and a bigger thing. And that's just, I think, at the core of myself, it's trusting the process. And when you're aligned with your passion and what it is that you love, everything seems to kind of flow in this beautiful way. It's only when you're trying to swim against the tide that you feel that resistance. But you asked, you know, how did I come to this realization? It's just following my passion, man. And my passion at the end of the day is about helping people.
Helping people and having those relationships with people.
Exactly.
So you mentioned your entrepreneurial spirit.
Sure.
So the majority of the time that you've been doing physical therapy, it's been like you on your own, right? Like
Solo
as an
dolo.
independent.
I have other 1099 contractors that facilitate massage therapy, other things like that.
Yeah, but it's not someone that's paying you and finding you clients.
Exactly.
So that means you've always had to go out there and find clients.
I'm a hunter.
So you're a hunter.
I'm a hunter.
Aside from Craigslist,
right,
what were you doing back in the day to establish all those relationships and find clients? Aside from Craigslist.
You know, it's just about getting out there, putting yourself out there to meet people and having conversations, meaningful conversations like the one that we're having right now, where we're able to connect with each other in a deeper way to where we feel compelled to help each other. Because I think at the basis of all humans, we're here to help and we're here to love. And if you're connecting with people in the right way and in the right circumstances, of course, I think that's kind of the juice behind it all.
So you were just like kind of like in your own circle, and then people would ask you about what you did, and then you would just start conversations like that, and that's how the business started growing?
100%. 100%. You know, if you see someone perhaps to where they could be more efficient in a certain way, you know, gently bringing it up to them in a way that isn't, you know, critical or judgmental, but instead offering insight that's backed by science and clearly results. I think that's pretty powerful stuff. I think it's also important to know that you can't judge someone based upon... I think it's also important to realize that a lot of people may just not know better. So going back to what I said regarding offering grace, super important, man, because a lot of people may not know what you know. So I think it's kind of your obligation and your duty to an extent to not only elicit patience, but to offer, you know, knowledge when you can, if that makes sense.
Of course. One thing that I noticed, I mean, we just met probably 45 minutes ago.
It's been
a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Let's say
magical.
65 minutes ago.
I love it.
And one thing that I noticed is that as soon as we started speaking, like you kept asking me questions, like trying to find out more about me,
Sure.
like where I went to school, where
Absolutely.
I grew up, and like all these other things. And I think that's such an important, I guess, skill to have, especially when it comes to having meaningful conversations with people. So let's say someone's watching this video and maybe they're like an introvert. They don't like to speak to people.
Sure.
They just want to be like in their own little bubble.
Sure.
Maybe if they want to start having those meaningful conversations with people, like what advice would you give them? How do you have a meaningful conversation?
Brother, the most important part of having a meaningful conversation is about figuring out what it is that you're interested in. Because you can't fake this until you make this. It's too hard to fake. So find out what it is that you like doing. Find out what it is that you love. And then use that to set your parameters. Because if you think of that as your North Star, you will naturally be curious. Because it's stuff that you like. It makes sense. It's super simple. But that's everything. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things that don't need to be overcomplicated. And we all have the tendency to do that. But one thing that I've learned is that I'm trying to get out of my own way. And that means keeping it simple.
You've dropped so many little bombs. It's crazy.
It's my pleasure, man.
And one of the things that I also love is keeping things simple. I mean, in a world where so much technobabble is spoken, like people, like professionals, even like realtors or physical therapists that throw out maybe like terminology at their clients and their patients, and they're like, what does that even mean?
What does it even mean?
I don't even care about that.
Right.
So like,
can you help me sell my house or what?
Exactly. Like, just keep things simple. There's no
simple.
need to talk about like interest rates.
No.
Like, keep it simple.
Keep it simple,
keep
man.
it simple.
Who's buying homes here? At what price are they buying for?
Exactly.
Where do I fall within those parameters?
Exactly.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, and even like going back to what it is that you said right now, like finding out what they're interested in, like through meaningful conversations.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they're not like, it's not just a transaction and it's not just about numbers. Like, for example, in real estate, they're buying their home. Like, that's where they're going to live. That's where their kids are going to, that's where their kids are going to grow. Like, it's about like what matters to them. And that just translates into like every other type of industry that there exists.
Right.
Like, it's all about what your client cares about.
Sure.
What their goals are, what they really want in life.
Absolutely.
Not what it seems that they want, but like what they actually want. And I feel like that's so important, and having that skill that you've seemed to master of having like those meaningful conversations, right? So that's 100% like amazing.
And brother, on that note, I just sold a home, because it's important to, I think, spend a moment on that, because you're absolutely right. There is so much more emotionally behind just the sale of a home. I was fortunate enough to have clients whose mother passed away and they inherited this home. So this is the home in which they grew up in. This is the home in which they've spent years and years cultivating their own families within the space of. So to be able to come within that and to help to facilitate the transaction of that, it's so much more than just selling a house. You're helping to build people's lives in so many different ways. And the trust that's offered to me to be able to do that, I mean, I can't thank them enough for the opportunity. And it's my pleasure to deliver.
Wonderful. That's truly amazing. You, based on your profile, you sell a lot of homes in the Southwest Ranches area.
I do.
That's not a cheap area to live in.
It's absolutely
I don't know
not.
if people watching this are aware of Southwest Ranches. You can probably do some research and look at the houses by there. They're expensive.
It's the Hamptons of Miami, and that's how I classify it. If you don't want the traffic, you want the sprawling, beautiful greenery in the acreage that the Hamptons offers to Manhattan, that's the Southwest Ranches. And at the end of the day, I go where the client wishes to go. I just facilitate the transaction on either side. But once again, I'm just here to help people.
You sound so peaceful.
When you connect with your purpose, there's a peace that comes with that from within that no one can take from you. And that's what I've connected with, whether it be interpersonally, whether it be familially. That's where I try to stay, because that's my best self. And when I'm my best self, limitless opportunity.
It's amazing.
I'm sorry for getting all spiritual on you like this.
No. I love that. That's amazing.
Life is so much bigger than just what it is that we do. And it's important, I think, at the end of the day, that we don't forget that. What it is that we do for work, it's a minuscule fraction of our essence, of our being. And it's important that we all kind of take a minute to realize that life is bigger than that. And we should take this time to connect with each other and be curious. What else are we here for?
That's so true. I couldn't agree more with you. You mentioned, you actually apologized for getting spiritual. So I'm curious now. Are you spiritual?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How important is like God in your life?
Without God, I'm not here. You know, God's the controller of it all. You know, all my blessings come from above. It's not because of me. It's because of him.
I don't know if it was my last podcast or no, it was my last podcast where jiu-jitsu world champion, he told me, and I think like this is going to stay with me for the rest of my life.
Tell me.
Is that when God gives you a battle, is because the victory is already guaranteed. And I feel like that's so powerful to always have that in our mind. And I'm sorry because
Say it again. That's important.
So once God gives us a battle, it's because the victory is already guaranteed. And that's, I feel like,
fire.
If we always have that in mind, like life just becomes easier.
You flow, right?
You flow.
You understand that where it is that you are is exactly where it is that you need to be. And with that mentality, you're not looking at 1,000 different things. You're looking at what's in front of you. Not what's in your rear view, not what's in your side mirrors, directly what's in front of you. And that's the sweet spot, man.
Absolutely. I had to go into that topic because I love like the God conversation and all of that.
100%.
But I was gonna ask you. We were speaking about Southwest Ranches, and I was telling them how expensive a home in Southwest Ranches is. Did you get to that type of client simply by like word of mouth, like people sending you business from your physical therapy because you started with a $10 Craigslist ad? Like, was it like word of mouth, or like how did those clients start coming about?
Now I can't give you all my sauce, but I can give you a little bit.
For sure.
Just kidding. I mean, that to me is what I describe as it's not my hack, but it's about getting around the people in which it is that I aspire to be like. And for me, it just happened to be through athletic training and physical therapy and rendering services within that space of business and of the market. And once I got into that space, then I began to expand, my sight and, the width in which I see my life kind of manifesting unto. And I found that I have a deep passion for real estate. I have a deep passion for architecture and development, things of that nature. So it pairs nicely with what it is that I am also passionate about, which is helping others. So 1 + 1 = 2. And it happens to be a nice 2.
For sure. Absolutely. So are most of your clients athletes or like business owners or like a little bit of everything?
I have a little bit of everything. I've been so blessed to be around the brightest, the most entrepreneurial, the hardest working, the smartest people that I've met. I don't know any other way that I would have ever had exposure to this side of life or this side of the market. That's why I'm also so deeply grateful and so appreciative of that, and why I'm also so understanding of how important it is to follow your passion, because that's what led me to this. And I feel like I keep winning because I keep following my passion. So why would I deviate from something that has shown proof of concept time and time again? I'd be a fool.
You mentioned that you've had the blessing of being around very successful entrepreneurs, very successful business owners, people that just want to do better in life.
Titans of every industry, man. Forbes list, you name it.
Wow.
Entertainers, actors, athletes, just unbelievable people that are highly, highly successful at what it is that they do.
Is there anything in specific, like maybe a conversation that you had with one of these people, or like a piece of advice that they gave you, aside from following your passion? Like, what's the biggest takeaway, the biggest lesson that you've learned from one of these Forbes individuals, or like titans, whatever you want to call them? Like, what's one piece of advice or something that you learned aside from following your passion?
Great question. I want to frame it differently. And I want to frame it in a way, what's the common denominator behind all of the successful people that I've been exposed to? What is it that they all embody and exude that has created the level of success that they've attained? And it seems to be grit. It seems to be facing adversity, overcoming adversity, and continuing to move forward. You know, speed bumps don't stop the car. They may slow the car down, but the car continues to move forward. That is life. When we reach these obstacles, when we reach these little bumps in the road, it's important that we don't stop moving, but to continue forward with understanding and, you know, education as to what it is that we've just experienced, how we can make it better, but continue along our path. And that stands true for every avenue of life, whether it's work, whether it's relationships, whether it's friends or family. We may experience speed bumps in the road, but you have to keep moving forward. The grass is green where you water it. And that's what it is, man.
Wow. That's so powerful. So powerful. I've never heard that, by the way, and it's amazing. The grass is green where you water it, and it absolutely makes sense.
Sure.
Let's say someone is watching this and maybe, they hear what you're saying.
Right.
They do know that if there's speed bumps, like, they have to keep going. But let's say they just keep getting hit and hit and hit and hit, and, like, it doesn't stop, and they feel like giving up, and they feel like nothing is, like, working out, and they feel like that's it. Like, they're about to throw in the towel. Like, what would you say to that person?
Keep going. Keep going. Because you only fail when you stop. Boom.
What was was there a moment in your business, maybe like in your physical therapy, where like maybe like when you were starting out that maybe you weren't getting any business because you've been independent? Like you're the one that has to hunt. Like you said, you're a hunter. You're the one that has to hunt. No one is feeding you business. No one is giving you patients. You're not working at a clinic.
Correct.
You have to go out and hunt.
You have to get
Was there a moment in time where like you thought to yourself, oh my God, like how am I going to pay the bills? Like,
brother, there's a moment all the time where you think that. And I mean, that's, I guess, the misconception of entrepreneurship and ownership of business is that just because you own it, it's all gravy. It's not. You got to get out there and get it. But that's why it's so important that when we face adversity, we don't stop moving, but to continue forward.
That's so powerful. And I guess one of the things that you also said that stood out is like you wanted to start working with like those wealthier individuals, maybe those titans, those people that were on the Forbes list. And you said that since you wanted to be like, that's where you're trying to get to. Absolutely. That's like the type of people that you're hanging around with. How does someone start hanging out with those people? Like, where do you find them? Aside from like word of mouth, like where would you say to someone like, hey, you know what? Like maybe if you start like doing this or start going to these places, maybe that's where you start hanging out with these type of people, these titans. Like, what are they doing?
That's the toughest part. That's where I think life is so beautiful because of all the different varieties. You know, there's 1,000 different flavors of how to do something, or 1,000 different ways to skin a cat, as you've heard. There's no right way to do it. It's just what's best for you and what feels best, because ultimately, if you show up as your best self, probability is you may have a slightly higher chance of converting or at least offering your best version of yourself.
That's such an important term, like that conversion.
Yeah, conversion, man, of course.
Like turning a prospect into a client.
Absolutely.
Turning someone that probably didn't know you existed a few minutes ago to them wanting to do business with you now. So most of your clients right now, they come from relationships that you've established over years and years and years. So like these wealthier people, like they're in another type of level.
It's another bracket.
It's another bracket. The people that they're hanging out with, they're doing big things.
Big things.
Like
big teams.
Some are exiting companies. Some just bought like a
billions of dollars,
$100 million building, $200 million building.
Absolutely.
And you started from a simple Craigslist
ad.
There it is. And do you think most of that came from you being interested in that person and just being curious and just learning about what they're interested in? Was that like what made you turn into this guy that's so like well connected?
I think what brought those two spaces together was becoming a value add. How can you be of value to someone else? Not thinking so much from the perspective of what they can offer you, but what can you bring to the table to either fix, simplify, or make their life better. When that shift occurs, it's almost like a magnet for things, man, because you don't worry so much about outward, but you connect and align the inward with where it is that you wish to be. You don't chase, you attract. And that's the creed that I live my life by, is I don't chase it. I attract it by aligning myself to where it is that I wish to be. How can I be of help? How can I be of value?
So you said fix, help, or make better.
Absolutely.
Like in someone's life. And that mentality, once you have that mentality and you're always thinking about that, like
others first.
Others first. Like people start gravitating towards you. And I feel like so many people nowadays, they're not actively thinking about how they can make someone's life better,
Right.
but instead they just ask, like, how can I help you? Like,
Yeah.
why not turn on your creativity and see how you can help them and how you
Correct.
can provide value?
Correct.
How do you do that?
I do that in every way possible.
But how do you find out what value add you can
Sure.
give them?
That's where I think we go back to what it is that you're passionate about. And there being 1,000 different ways to skin the cat. And individualistically, how can you add value? Do you love legal contracts? Do you love finances? Do you love economics? Do you love physical therapy? Do you love anatomy? Things of that nature. Connecting your passion with how it is that you can be of service to others. And then becoming such a badass in what it is that you do that you make it fucking undeniable that they have to use you. That's the magic. Figure out what you like, become the best at it, and watch it come in, man, because I promise you it does.
One other thing is that you seem so genuine. It's not like, I guess a lot of people, when they're in these professional settings, let's say it's an event or you're with a client, like a lot of times people put on this mask and they're not really, that's not the person they really are. And it seems like you're very genuine.
Right.
Like you don't try to be someone that you're not. You seem very genuine, like straight to the point.
100%.
You talk how you talk, you
That's
move
right.
how you move.
Absolutely.
What would you say to someone that is having trouble with like being themselves and instead of like just putting on this fake person that they aren't, like that's not really them?
Brother, no one can be you the way that you are you. So just be yourself. You know that cliche everybody else is taking, yeah. Just be yourself, man. You are such a beautiful version of yourself when you are your truest self. You don't have to fake it. You're enough. More than enough. So be that. You don't need to this, that, and the third. Just be how you are. And trust me, the people that don't connect with it, you don't want them in your space anyway. If somebody's not going to love you for what it is and who it is that you are, why would you want that? You shouldn't want that. You want the people that are going to embrace, the people that are going to champion you, to move forward in life, to support you. The other ones, they can kick rocks, man. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time.
A vibe or what?
I love that one.
My son does this. We were doing like Christmas photos at his school, and my God, that was like another conversation. He's 3, so it's like to get him to sit and like smile at a camera, forget about it. But he gave this look to the camera lady when she was taking a photo, like, what you want me to do with this? Like, ain't nobody got time for this. And dude, I think about that all the time. All the time, man.
That's amazing.
Oh, goodness.
I feel like since I was very young, as long as I can remember, my aunt, she had my cousins.
Yeah.
And I've always like loved kids so much, like
Beautiful.
playing with my cousins, like just seeing them grow up,
Sure.
just being a mentor for them. And I feel like where you are right now, like I can't wait to be there, like raising a child, raising a boy, like that's, and I see you, and I feel like your relationship with your son is so cool.
Oh, bro.
And I feel like that's amazing, and
that's my North Star. You know, I see I'm sorry for cutting you off, but
No,
I
go
see
ahead.
life through that lens of what's good for Bear is great for me. I put him first. And that's the unselfishness that was important for me and Corinne to get to when we had the baby, because it transitions. It's no longer about you. It's about moving the ball forward. And like I said, that's my North Star. What's great for him is even better for me. So I try to keep it within that lens when I see things.
That's amazing. And I
Thank you, man.
hope that I can be like you one day. And
Oh, brother, come on. You will. Are you kidding, bro? You got it in spades. There's no doubt about that.
That's amazing.
Real recognizes real, though. So the fact that you do see that says a lot about your character. And that's how I know you're going to be that, because you already see it.
Amen.
And one thing that I've learned about fatherhood, it's the hardest.
Really?
Oh, it's the hardest, but the most rewarding job you'll ever have.
What makes you say that?
Oh, brother. I mean, Bear gets up at 5:45 a.m. Monday through Sunday.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
there's no turning up at night, going out, popping bottles. No. There's none of that, because every day, that is my regulator.
Wow.
But how beautiful is that, though? That it's almost like a contingency to where I can't get out of line, because if I get out of line, I let him down. Ain't nobody got time for that. No, but you don't, because you love them unconditionally. So what makes it challenging is all of the things that come along with parenthood, the selflessness, the exhausted days, the having to juggle so much, spin so many plates on the hand, yet still not being able to let that side of the coin kind of fall.
Right?
But that's also what makes it the most beautiful. Because you get to heal through your children. You get to experience life again through the eyes of a child, which, until you do it, there's nothing like it, man. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. And it's my honor and my pleasure to do that.
What's the biggest lesson that your son has taught you?
Don't give up. Don't give up. Show up. 3 and 2. Show up. Showing up, 60% of the battle. So many people don't even show up. So to be there, you're already winning. And listen, that's another thing I've learned too, is that I don't need to, I don't know if you saw like my social and stuff, but like when we were teaching Bear potty training and whatnot, and like I was racking my brain with learning all these different methods and this and that and trying to implement these things. But it got to the point where, he pulled his diaper off. He said, "Daddy, pee-pee." And he had seen me peeing 1,000 times. And he just did it. I didn't need to sit there and analyze and get in my way, per se, with all of the literature that I have read up on. You just got to show up.
And keep it simple.
Cheers! Mic drop. That's it, man. Keep it simple. Don't get in your way. Stop blocking your blessings. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss it. Always.
What are your goals in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Oof. What are some things on maybe your list that some things in life that you want to accomplish? Not only as a professional, but also as a father, also as a human overall. Like, what are some things in life that you want to accomplish and you want people to be like, damn, yeah, Grant is that man?
Absolutely. Raising a beautiful family. Beautiful in the sense of a family that's mindful, a family that gives back, a family that is of continued service to others, to keep that ball moving forward. Philanthropically, at the end of the day, it's about helping others. So provided you're feeding the homeless or, saving the oceans, whatever you can do to help make the longevity of the world better, I think you're in the right place with that frame of mind. And then career, continue to scale. Continue to broaden my reach as to how it is that I can help. Whether that is creating a not-for-profit to where I can continue to build homes for other people. Not to continue, but to build homes rather for other people, to help to design homes for other people. You know, that's the scope of which I see my business growing to. Obviously continuing to facilitate transactions and sales, but how can I widen that net? How can I impact more people with one cast of my net? So who knows? The sky's the limit, man. But I know that if I am of help to others, that the compass is pointed in the right direction. So that's my North Star.
That's so cool. Like what you mentioned right now, when you're facilitating transactions, you are helping like one-to-one, but you want to be able to help one-to-many.
Right.
And I feel like that's a switch that most people need to make in one point of their lives, that they have to see like the bigger picture. Like, I'm helping one-to-one individuals. How can I help 1,000 people at once?
Sure.
How can I help 100,000 people at once? How can I help millions of people at once?
Absolutely.
Because with today's technology, it is possible.
Absolutely.
And there's so many things that we can do to help people.
Sure.
and really, like you said, have that value add. And I guess I want to close it with this. And by the way, I want to thank you because
my pleasure.
This has been amazing. And I want to close it with one last question. And that question is, what does success mean to Grant?
What does success mean to me? Happiness. Peace of mind. Fulfillment. That's what success means to me.
That was unbelievable.
Brother, come on.
I enjoyed
Speak from the
this.
heart.
I enjoyed this conversation so much. You have so much knowledge, and it's knowledge that you've acquired, like not only from the people that you surround yourself with, but just like life experiences.
Sure.
And I feel like you dropped so many bombs, like all over the place. Like
Bro, stop.
you hit every area, and someone that's watching this, I'm pretty sure they're gonna pick up more than one thing. That just like the thing that I brought up, that God gives you a battle because the victory is already guaranteed. Sure. Just like I picked that up, and now it's like in my brain.
Absolutely.
I feel like so many people, like you're transferring that knowledge to them. People that are watching this, and that's gonna be like their new story.
Right.
That's gonna be running in their brain. And at the end of the day, that's what life is about.
Yeah.
Changing the false belief patterns that people have.
Totally.
And then you replacing that belief pattern through your story and through your knowledge and through your expertise and all of the things that you've learned in your life. And I just want you to know that even though we just met less than 2 hours ago, I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. I wish you the absolute best. I see you, and I've been following you for some time now, and I see you doing big things. And I hope that in the next couple of years, you're not selling multi-million-dollar homes, so you're selling already the $100 million, $200 million homes. And I know that you will get there, because I don't know, but in this conversation, everything has been like so chill.
Sure.
I feel like I've known you my whole life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's what it all comes back to. And it's what this conversation was based on, pretty much. Having that trust with someone, having that relationship with someone. So I'm rooting for you.
Thank you, brother.
I wish you the absolute best.
Likewise.
And I hope we can do this, who knows, a couple of years from now, when
100%.
When you've grown much more than you've already grown in such a short period of time.
And vice versa. We've been here before. And there's a reason why we're connected.
Absolutely.
And it's been a real pleasure to get to know you on a deeper level and to have that meaningful conversation with you.
Thank you, Grant. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be impacted through this short conversation that we had. So,
brother, it's my pleasure for that.